Just look away, look away. There's nothing but horror and inconvenience on the way. Ask any stable person, should I watch, and they will say, look away, 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 look away.
Welcome to the 23rd episode of Why It's Awesome, the spoiler-free show where we attempt to take something often easily dismissed and explain why maybe you should give it a shot. The intention with this series is to help new fans find something that they'll enjoy that initially they might have passed over, or so that people who are already fans can pass this video on to their friends to persuade them to give the subject in question a go. This time around, we'll be looking at the recently released Netflix show A Series of Unfortunate Events, based on the children's book series of the same name by Lemony Snicket, aka Daniel Handler. As you might have guessed from the title, the show is awesome. However, before we get to that, we will start, as we always do, with why some people may dismiss this. Initially, people may say that they saw the movie back in the day and just aren't interested, or they've seen some of the promotional media and don't like the look of the show, or maybe they know that the show is adapted from a children's book series and don't think it will be for them. For those of you wondering what I am going on about here, A Series of Unfortunate Events follows the Baudelaire children Violet, Klaus and Sunny. When a mysterious fire kills their parents and burns down their house, they are placed into the care of Count Olaf, a man only out to get the Baudelaire's family fortune for himself. It is the same plot as the books and of course the 2004 movie, but whereas that was an hour and 40-minute rush job attempting to tell the story of 3 novels, this series allows each story to breathe, instead deciding to dedicate 2 episodes to each novel. This amount of time lets the more peculiar elements of the show it revels in presenting to us shine through and ensure that each story is told in its entirety. Admittedly, this does lead to the occasional pacing issue throughout the 8-episode season, with some of the tangents and narration edging into being overly expositional, and as such getting in the way of the plot instead of adding to it. But they are spread out enough so that on the whole they don't feel excessive, and when they do work, they are a welcome way to add some levity or tension to the proceedings. Now, for more on the show itself. If you have seen any of the promotional material surrounding its release, you have probably gotten the impression that this show does not present itself as a typical drama, mystery or comedy, though broadly those genres do fit it. It has a very stylized look and way of presenting its story. Visually, this means big budget sets, costumes aplenty, and inventions straight out of a steampunk fairy tale. Minute-to-minute actual watching of the show, this means equal parts an incredibly dark, silly sense of humour, and a celebration of logic, wordplay and creativity. Word being the appropriate, word in that sentence. This show adores language, and there is a good chance you will walk away from the show with a wider vocabulary than you went in with. This love of language the show holds dear is put front and centre throughout the entire runtime, and its commitment to presenting this weird and wonderful world is mostly an endearing, immersive experience. It can, however, at times feel like you are being beaten up by a dictionary. On that note, praise must be heaped onto Neil Patrick Harris and Patrick Warburton for their performances. They have both been given difficult roles that in lesser hands would have dragged down the entire show. However, they managed to find a nice pitch for their characters, ensuring that their more cartoonish aspects are mostly restrained enough so that they can still be taken seriously when the show calls on them for drama. The Baudelaires themselves, Melina Weissman and Lewis Hines, are also in a difficult position, having the unenviable task of tying together every story and playing the straight men to the adult characters' craziness. As such, their performances are a little less memorable than their adult co-actors, but that is entirely down to the role they play in the story, a role they all play very well. Yes, even Sunny, aka Presley Smith. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the baby. You got a bright future ahead of you in showbiz, kid. These potential performance issues seem to stem from the show being an adaptation, and is perhaps due to the dialogue reading better on page. In fact, most of the issues I have seem to stem from this idea, that it reads better on page than the way the show presents them. For example, the show does go to some dark places. It kind of has to with its premise. However, it goes to all of these places alongside the occasional CGI baby scene, which is a little jarring. To the show's credit, however, it does seem to understand this, and ultimately makes that juxtaposition a fundamental part of the show. And because of that, the more, quotation marks here, childish aspects the show presents do not stop you enjoying it. A series of unfortunate events presents us with a very bleak world. The Baudelaire children don't ever seem to manage to catch a break. But because of this, the show manages to handle mature themes very open and honestly. This leads to engaging characters, interesting stories, and ultimately, more binge-worthy, compelling television. The show may revolve around a premise that is one of the worst things that can happen to a person, but it still manages to embrace the happiness of life, allowing the show to be smart, funny, and just plain fun, even if those moments are ultimately fleeting for the Baudelaires. Whatever you plan to do with this one, just make sure you don't look away. And with that, we come to the end of another episode of Why It's Awesome. So, what did you think? Did you enjoy this video? Let me know with a like, and if you would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Is there something that you love that other people just don't seem to get that you might want me to look into and make a video about? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, what do you think about a series of unfortunate events? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And why? What is it about the show that makes you feel that way? Leave a comment to start a discussion, and, as always, thank you for watching.